Hello. When we think of Singapore, we always picture the same thing. A skyline that never sleeps, neon lights at midnight, world-class safety, a rich city-state, Asia's financial hub. From the outside, it looks like a finished masterpiece. But lately, a very different sentence has been spreading inside the city. This isn't a place for humans anymore. I can't breathe here. The harder I work, the more I disappear. Today, we're going to face that contradiction head-on. How did Singapore become a playground for the wealthy, while ordinary citizens quietly dream of escaping? We'll break it down into three forces: cost of living, population structure, and geopolitics. Let's start with the most painful one: housing. Singapore has always been expensive. But what's happening now isn't just high rent. It's rent that pushes people out of their own city. The real fear isn't the number on the contract. It's the feeling that you no longer have a place in your own life. Payday comes, you look at your bank account, and half your existence is transferred to a landlord. After food, transportation, and basic survival, there's nothing left. Even highly educated professionals are asking, what is the point of this? So why did it explode like this? Ironically, the answer is exactly what Singapore wanted most: global capital. When money escapes uncertainty, it searches for a safe fortress. And Singapore became one of the first choices. But much of that money didn't flow into productive investment. It flowed into property. When wealthy buyers treat luxury homes like items on a shelf, one deal can reset an entire city's price tag. Luxury prices rise, then ordinary housing follows. And rent spreads like a domino collapse. Then fear adds fuel. Today is the cheapest day. And once that mindset takes over, the market runs on panic. So Singapore becomes a perfect asset fortress for the rich, while turning into a rent-driven survival trap for everyone else. And the pressure doesn't stop at housing. It extends to mobility cars. Singapore controls car ownership aggressively. Before you buy a car, you must first buy the right to own one. For the wealthy, it's just another expense line. For the middle class, it's a wall. For ordinary people, it's not even an option. So people either give up car ownership entirely or get pushed farther out, accepting longer commutes and less time for life. On the streets, you see supercars gliding through the city. At bus stops, you see longer lines. In this city, even movement feels like a class system. And then the last defense line begins to crack food. Singapore's hawker culture used to be the working class shield. Fast, affordable meals for everyday life. But when ingredients, rent, and labor costs rise together, even that becomes a place where people stare at prices before ordering. And the moment you have to calculate every meal, this is no longer just inflation. It's a collapse in quality of life. That's when the deeper question appears. We accepted strict rules and limited freedoms in exchange for efficiency and prosperity. But is the deal still working? Now we move into a bigger fracture population structure. Singapore is a small city-state. When birth rates collapse, the damage is massive. So, for a long time, Singapore ran on an imported people engine. High-skilled talent for finance and tech. Lower-wage labor for construction and service work. The system was designed to keep the city running through migration. For years, it worked. But when external shocks hit, the engine started choking. People leave. Labor shortages appear. Wages rise. Prices rise. Daily life breaks. At the same time, internal resentment grows. Too many foreigners. My job feels threatened. Outside wealth is inflating our housing. When living costs explode, anger becomes political. But here's the trap. If you tighten immigration too much, labor disappears. If labor disappears, services slow down, construction stalls, and prices climb. If prices climb, the public gets angrier. Block people and the economy stalls. Allow people and resentment rises. It becomes a structural deadlock. Now we look outward: geopolitics. Singapore's biggest advantage was simple: location equals money. A strategic choke point for global shipping. A place where trade flows naturally pass through, turning geography into profit. But now even that advantage is being questioned. The moment alternative routes are seriously discussed, the myth of being irreplaceable starts to weaken. And as neighboring economies grow, businesses recalculate. Keep headquarters in Singapore. But do we really need factories, operations, and logistics in such an expensive place? When that question spreads, the first thing to leave is good jobs. Then the city becomes even more dependent on finance and property, which pushes living costs even higher. And over everything, geopolitical pressure intensifies. Singapore survived for years by balancing major powers. But as global rivalry hardens, neutrality becomes more expensive. In the end, Singapore faces a brutal reality. All three pillars are shaking at the same time. Living costs pushing citizens out, A population engine losing stability. Geopolitical advantages turning into geopolitical pressure. Here's the core message in one line. When a nation's prosperity stops flowing into everyday life, even the most perfect system begins to break quietly, slowly, and then all at once. This story feels uncomfortable because it doesn't stay in Singapore. Housing pressure, falling birth rates, migration and labor conflict, a widening gap between financial growth and real life. Singapore may be showing a high-resolution preview of what other societies could face next. So here's the final question. Will Singapore pivot again and create another miracle? Or will it hit a limit and slowly crack? And more importantly, can we choose a different path before the system starts breaking? Leave your thoughts in the comments.